Hi, welcome. My name is Colleen Tauke and I'm the sewing specialist for Fons Porter. In this video tutorial, we're going to talk about the 7-blade buggy wheel template set that can help you make this gorgeous quilt called Amish Buggy Wheel behind me. Okay, our block looks like this when we're done, and these are the components in the template set. We have a large curved piece, a small one that looks very much like it, and a blade that looks like this. Now this one has some spacers underneath of it to keep it as a non-slip, so you might want to be able to add those to yours too. Just depends on what your fabric is like. We are going to be creating this, so in order to do that we need to get to cutting. So I'm going to use a rotating mat that helps so that we're always cutting in a safe direction. So we're going to come in here with this, and the first thing I'm going to cut, our pattern does have you cut from strips, and I just have a small strip here just for ease in demonstrating how to cut. What we do then is this narrower strip is we're going to cut the first curved piece that goes into our 7-blade buggy wheel. And what we're going to do is we can line up, since we've cut strips, we can line up the one side and just have to cut two. So we'll use that to our advantage, line that there. Always cutting in a motion away from your body to be safe. And we can cut again here. And we have the first component. Oops. Make sure you always have your blade in the right direction. Nice and perpendicular. It's a little harder to do in camera. There we go. We've created that first piece for our patchwork. Now the next piece we're going to be cutting are the fan blades. And you can see in the quilt behind me, the fan blades are made up of all different colors and prints. So what we've got here is just one. Once you've gotten used to the cutting of the blades, you can stack up various fabrics. I would cut maybe no more than 3 at once, stack them up together, and then you could cut 3 layers at once. So it'd really be quick cutting. So align your template, and they're just a little oversized so you can make it really precise cut. Okay, so we would then cut all of our blade pieces like that. And the last piece that we need to cut is this large curved piece that seems like, where does that go in our quilt? Well, what we do is, using the required square fabric that your pattern calls for, we are going to be using this tool to take away a section of fabric. So when I get done cutting this, I'm not actually using the fabric under the template, but the remaining fabric. So this is the piece that I'm going to be using in my patchwork. Okay, so this then becomes a scrap for another quilt, another day. So we've now got all 3 pieces that go into our patchwork. Those are the 3 required. And we'll talk about then how to assemble those pieces. When you get them all cut, you are going to have pieces that look like this, and I've started to pair these already. So you would put them in 2, so 2, 4, 6, and 7, and then you've cut those small pie-shaped pieces Marianne and Liz used to always reference. And then remember that piece that was the background that you cut away? The remaining piece will go out here like this. Now you want to continue joining pieces. Do remember to always press your seam allowances in the same direction all the way through. So lay out your blades as you're assembling them, press all your seam allowances in one direction, and then you will have a piece that looks like this. It's getting to look a little bit more like the pieces in the quilt behind us. And you can see I've pressed all my seam allowances in one direction. Now we need to join this, this, and this. And that's that wonderful thing called a curved seam. So what we need to do is take the first 2 pieces. We'll leave him for later. We'll do the toughest one first. We'll start with the small curve. What we want to do is to always lay the piece with kind of the smile on top. So this is the piece that we're going to put on the top. And we're going to find the center of that curve. You can do that by a simple fold and pinch. Just put a little crease there in that piece. And do the same thing with your small pie shape. Find the center, put a little crease in it, and now you are just going to align those creases, one over the top of the other, and put a small pin, a small bite into the fabric with a pin, and you're going to do it about right at the 1/4 inch seam, not a deep bite, because what you want to be able to do is to be able to rotate a little bit at that point. It holds it in place so it won't shift, but we just want a small bite into the fabric at that point. Now we're going to go back to each end, and we're going to align our edges, cut edges all the way out. And here we can take a little bit bigger bite into the fabric because we want to be able to get that under the presser foot without having them slide away. Do the same thing on the other end, gently kind of maneuvering our 7 blade at this point, and put a pin in here with a little bit longer bite to hold those together. And we want to sew this. Now if I turn this and you look at my seam allowances, they're all in the downward direction so that when I'm sewing they won't want to flip up in front of me. I can be sewing them down. So we need to go and use a very accurate 1/4 inch seam. So we set up our machine for 1/4 inch seaming. And when I've taught curve piecing, this is usually the point where everybody gets really nervous and you got to remember to breathe. So take just a couple of bites into the fabric and then you can remove that first pin. It's done its job. It's held everything in place until you got it under the sewing machine. And now slowly you can put in a 1/4 inch seam, making sure those outside edges stay aligned all the way along. Every once in a while, just readjust. You can use a stiletto if that helps you to hold pieces along the cut edge. A T-pin or a corsage pin will also work for that. But just go slowly, keep realigning, or as Marion and Liz used to say, fluffing the outer edge. It doesn't lay flat. You can see that it's kind of bubbled up. But the seam allowances have been engineered to overlap perfectly. So this is where you need to use your best 1/4 inch seaming. And you can see that I'm not a speed demon at this. We're going slowly, adjusting as we go. We want that smooth curve on the inside of our block. Okay, and I'm using a red thread so you'll be able to see every little bitty thing I do. We get all the way to the end, and we can remove our last little pin there, cut thread, and hopefully we can reveal an inner curve. Okay, the seam allowances, because of all the seaming here, is thick, so the seam allowances will definitely want to go towards that pie shape area there. So we've got that, and once you go to the iron you can see that it will want to press out perfectly for you, like this. Now we've got one more piece to add, and that's the outer piece, that large piece that we need to add, and it goes along here. The same method we used in the first curve seaming we use here, but there's one thing that we have to keep in mind. Okay, we're going to fold this unit in half. We're going to find the center with that pinch like I did before. We're also going to do the same thing with this. Find that little pinch spot right in the middle. And this time though, this smile goes on top. The last time we had the curved piecing, all that on top. Remember, smile on top, okay? And you would do the same thing, matching centers, the small bite. Do the same thing at each end with a little bit deeper bite and seam along. This one's a little bit easier because it's such an open curve, it's easier to stitch. And then we get to the completed block, our 7 blade buggy wheel. And you can see there, the seam allowances here want to press outward because of the thickness again. You will have your completed block. It's a great way to use a tool to your advantage for precise cutting, and then great designs like the Amish Buggy Wheel behind me. For more of our tutorials and information on how to acquire these templates, visit shopfonsporter.com today.